Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO. And as always, I am grateful you've joined us for another episode where week after week I speak to the most amazing leaders who share their insights with you. And I know they will inspire you. And we put out this content because I sincerely care about the C-suite leader to partner with them and help them navigate challenges with confidence. And this week, it is my honor to introduce to you Paul Tripi, who is the vice president and co owner of Beck Flavors. He's a University of Missouri graduate, starting his profession in advertising and promotions before starting a title insurance company. After the real estate bubble popped, he moved into sales and sales management and later joined Beck Flavors as the business development manager and eventually the vice president and co owner. He has a passion in business and connecting with customers, solving problems, and partnering with them. And in his free time, he spends time with his wife and two children and spending Zen time on a fishing boat or hiking a trail. Paul, thank you for dropping in on the show.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Deb.
So I'm excited for this. I don't know Paul, but indirectly I do. So for those of you who have been following me, one of my top podcast episodes was with the president of Beck Flavors, Matt Carr. And I reached out to him and I said, I'd love to be of service. I care about your company. Could I potentially interview you or your partner? And he says, sure, let's put Paul on. So we have Matt to thank for that. But I don't want to take away any of the thunder because I really want to get to know more about you personally and your career and with Beck Flavors. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you to share a bit about yourself.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so as you read in the bio, I graduated from the University of Missouri and started in advertising. I thought I was going to make commercials and do copywriting and that type of fun thing in the advertising world right when I got out of school. And my very first job, I worked for a promotions company doing kind of some print ads and some copywriting, and realized very quickly that it was so cutthroat that it took all the fun out of it. And so after a stint of time there, I decided I was going to chase my entrepreneur uh, kind of goals and things that I thought I would do on the side. And I started a title company with my brother-in-law who was in the mortgage world, who noticed that in the title insurance side of it all, there was no real customer service. And so we figured, if we brought a high level of customer service to that, we could do very well. And for years and years, we did it exactly that. Brought it, customer service to the forefront. And then, as you and everyone else knows, that real estate bubble popped, and we decided to just exit the real estate world altogether. Um, from that point, I really enjoyed the sales side of what I was doing with the title company. And so I brought that to a technology company that highlighted outsourced IT and industrial office equipment, mainly copy machines. So the type of copy machines that would print out a phone book, for those who remember what a phone book was, or large scale, the ones that would fill up an entire room. So I worked for that for 7 months before being promoted to sales manager there. And essentially, I was taking young salespeople and training them into sales. A business to business sales was pretty tough for a lot of them. So they really cut their teeth there, and they found out if they were going to make it in sales or not. And if they did make it, then I had the challenge of like pharmaceutical companies and medical device companies picking them off my team. So after a long time of doing that, it wasn't as fun, letting people know they may not be ready for sales, or if they were, watching them fly away from my team over and over. And an opportunity came up with a gentleman named Charlie Beck, who is the third generation owner of Beck Flavors. He was interested in buying out his current partner and came to me and Matt Carr to see if we could help him through that process. Um, and that took about a year setting up attorneys and banks and just getting the whole process ready. When he was finally able to buy out his partner, the three of us went out to celebrate for a happy hour. And in that meeting, Charlie said to Matt and I that he wanted us to come join Beck Flavors and take over for him. I'd like to think it was because of my excessive sales background and Matt's um, operations and management background that he chose us. Um, it also could be that we married his two stepdaughters. So Matt and I are brother-in-laws, and that process to make the decision to move over to a family business again was kind of a long one as far as I had a great dynamic with the family and mixing business and family can be a recipe for disaster if not done correctly. Um, but that decision ended up being the second best decision I've ever made in my life. The first one being marrying Charlie's daughter, um, which I'm sure she would appreciate. But since then, when Matt and I started, we had about 7 to 10 employees. And over that 10 years, we've grown to 60 plus employees, brought manufacturing in, and have really expanded the business. Um, and then later on, Matt and I bought out Charlie, and he's enjoying retirement very much. And we have continued to try to create a culture and a business that people want to work at, work for, um, and just making people excited about the products that they bring to us, and then make it really, really easy to work with us is some of our main goals.
So I am in a bit of shock because I interviewed Matt. We've had some interactions, and I never knew that you were related. And I never knew the backstory of how you came to be co-owners and partners in crime in this entity. So thank you so much for sharing that. My mouth was dropping during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge, family and business. My husband came down through the ranks of a family owned business, and he tells me the story that when he was on the job with his father, whose name was Joe, he was called Joe. And then when it came to sitting around the family table, the Irish Italian family table, it was dad. So they somehow found a way to make it work. And even though maybe they talk a little bit business, they were able to kind of find that happy medium to keep those entities separate and sacred.
Yes, and that's a very important part of both Matt and I's relationship is we're very different as far as how we are aligned. We've done things like taken culture index and the tea leaves that it reads about how we are wired professionally. We couldn't be more different. But I think that has really worked for us because we are different in how we are wired. Um, we really bounce a lot of things off of each other, think outside the box, and it has been an amazing partnership. Um, and then, we do spend a lot of family time together. Our kids um, are best of friends as far as, cousins, very tight cousins. We have a lot of meals together. We spend the holidays together. We're very good at not talking business at the dinner table. We see each other enough all week that nothing needs to bleed out into personal time. So we do get to have that separation of business and family, which is important to both Matt and I.
So the interesting thing is, and thank you for that, is that I've now interviewed both of you, and you talk about being so very different. And obviously you've got blood ties, et cetera. But the interesting thing is, after having interviewed both of you, is that you're both very humble. and you shine a light on the people that you're in service to. It's like you don't have to be in the limelight, but you have to make sure that your people are. And what can you do to make things so? That's what you're so very similar. You're not that typical, very extroverted and having every single talking point super crisp and clean, though you talk very well. But you guys are so similar when I see you as the face of the company. And it's like we do this because we care, we're just doing the right thing, and it's all about your people and the company and less about you and how you guys stand out. So I just want to mention that you're more
Well, thank
similar
you.
than you think.
Yes, and both of us recognize that putting the right people in the right place is what's really built us in that expansion from, 7 or 10 people to where we are now. We really do trust our management team. We let them be who they are and, let them make mistakes, let them make successes. We really want to stand by them. And if we create the culture that lets them thrive, ultimately everyone will have that buy-in and will thrive. So we just want to be the leaders that they need when they need us, but not when they don't need us.
Mm.
So we want to help them grow while we grow at the same time.
So, what I also find very interesting, again, as an interviewer, I prep beforehand. When I go to your website, Beck Flavors, you don't see you or Matt on the website, or I have to work really, really hard. The first page you come to is all about your people. And then when I go to your social media for the company, it's all about your people. It's almost like I wonder, is there a Matt and Paul actually running the company? So by evidence of promoting and showing the people and your operations, it's a testament to the culture. Because it was just so interesting when I went to look for leadership in our team, you guys weren't there. You weren't there. Was that intentional, or what was the reason for that? I'm curious.
Um, no, not that it was intentional, but we don't need to be the face of the company because there are so many wonderful people and very highly skilled people that really do push things forward. So they're the ones that we need to highlight. We're just the ones that set the stage for them and let them shine. So there's we don't have to be when we are together and when we do showcase ourselves, we kind of showcase our silly side. So that's we'd rather show that than show like here's who put this whole thing together.
So before we go a little bit more into the business and the industry, I'd love to know a little bit more though about the dynamic between you and Matt. So you talk about you're very different, but there's a reason why it works. And certainly functionally, he covers maybe the outward facing and the operations, and you cover, the sales part. But what is it more specifically about the partnership that makes it work? What is his strengths? What are your strengths? How does it complement each other? Because sometimes there are challenges between like the CEO and the COO. That dynamic is critical to make it work. So, what would you say are the strengths of both of your personas when you come together?
Yeah, great question. So, if you ever come to our office, you'll see that Matt and I share a big office space. It's not an office, it doesn't have a door. Our desks are in just a large area, so um, employees can walk up to us at any point, and if they have questions, if they have concerns, if they just want to, um, have some water cooler talk, whatever it may be, we are an open door. But with that, we also have a lot of conversations to where we just turn our chairs to each other and bounce ideas off of each other, help kind of double check our decisions. A lot of the decisions that we make that are more high level, we seem to be aligned with. So if there's something that we may be, needing to make a decision on, um, we'll turn to each other and say, "Hey, I'm thinking this is the direction or this is the decision we want to go. What are your thoughts?" I would say probably 90% of the time we're right in line with that. But when we aren't, we have a good conversation about why that decision was made and what the future of that decision could be. And we just bounce that back and forth. There's no ego there. There's no, look what I did there. It's more of, hey, how are we going to make this work? And sometimes that takes 5 minutes, and sometimes that takes 2 days, just depending on where we are on that. So, and I think there's just a mutual respect there to know what our strengths and weaknesses are. Matt is very, very good at handling operations and looking forward and being strategic. I like to pride myself on more customer centric side, putting myself in the customer's shoes, showing how we want to build a partnership with customers. Um, since we do a variety of things in the flavor world, we're trying to build customers and partners versus just selling something. So I think with Matt's strengths and my strengths put together, we have two different ways of looking at different challenges and different decisions. Um, but ultimately, it's all about the company. So we have that common bond that really sets us in line.
I love that. And I really appreciate you sharing all that because, I knew you had a strong culture. I really respected Matt, but now I'm seeing the full picture of both you and him together and how you work together. And then I'm sure how people see you work together transcends that open policy. Let's have open conversations. And even if we disagree, let's rally behind it and have deeper understanding. I'm sure that um, is seen and felt by the people in your care. But I want to switch it a little bit because I think now that I deeply understand you and Matt, your relationship with Matt and the employees, to your point, you really love that partnership and customer success model. I'd love for you to maybe share a story where through the work you, Matt, and the team, you have had a positive impact on some customer or partnership, because I want to shine a light on that versus talking about the challenges and problems you've had, but we'll go there too. Shine a light on a really positive impact that you've made.
Sure. So I could break it down to individual customers and clients, but we have the same story with so many of them that
Mm.
I can just kind of put it in a broad circle. So a lot of times someone will come to our company and have this great idea. Hey, we want to make this functional beverage that does this because I had a family member who had challenges and they needed a beverage that had something in it that made them feel better, whatever that story may be. So they come in, and what we do is we get our lab team together and our applications team together, and we create a beverage for them that has everything they're looking for. Um, we do some tasting, some revisions. We come to them with ideas of flavor combinations that may make some of the functional ingredients that don't have that great of a taste. We either complement those flavors or use trending flavors to decide what type the flavor profile we'll put into the beverage. And then we have a partner in our headquarters that has a canning facility, a small canning facility. And so we can take that beverage, do a small run with them so they can pass it out as sales samples and just get a taste of what it will taste like after production. And then we go into, seeing that item on a grocery store shelf and seeing that and having our employees and our clients go from walking in our office bright-eyed with an idea and 6 months to a year later it's on a grocery shelf and you see somebody pull that off, and knowing what went into that entire process and who was involved is really, really rewarding. So, not to put it to a particular product, but we've done that on so many different occasions that it's just really rewarding, like I said, and especially when we have our employees coming up to us They could be in the shipping department or accounting or manufacturing. And they're like, hey, I remember, working on this blood orange. This was so cool. It's so cool to see it. I bought, 10 of them and I passed them out at a party I had. And yeah, it's a really good feeling knowing that somebody came to you and you helped them in some cases make their dream come true. So it's like I said, it's very rewarding.
And that's the beauty of some of these smaller companies. While there are bigger flavor houses that certainly service perhaps the same customers, what I love about potentially the smaller ones is there's that level of intimacy where all the employees can have a piece of it, that can understand it, can innovate, and then seeing it go full circle. I can certainly appreciate that. It's such a great story because I call them these peace of mind moments because you can treat every flavor creation and application just as a transaction and a sale. And when you share the story about how it made people feel, both the customer and internally your internal customers, those kinds of stories kind of give me chills because now I know I've impacted people's lives, their livelihood, the emotions, the ability that they can share with their community. It is such a good story. But on the curious side of myself, because I try to stay close to the pulse of the flavor, food, and fragrance industry, the challenges. And again, everybody's got skeletons or, challenges. And I just wondering, over say the last couple of years, what have been some of the challenges that the whole business has faced? And how did you and the team rally around that? Because again, sometimes there's some great insights from that.
Yeah, so one of the bigger challenges that we had was when Matt and I started in 2015, we were using a outside manufacturing to produce our products. And what we really didn't like about that was, things happen. Something falls off of a forklift or somebody forgot to put a purchase order in and they need a rush order and we had no control over that. And so it just didn't feel much like a partnership if we didn't have the control over what might be unforeseen. So we went and decided that we were going to start manufacturing our own flavors. And Matt and I didn't have a ton of experience in that. So finding a building and doing the build out of that, we had contractors asking us questions about things that were above our pay grade. But we brought in the right people that had some experience in that, and we let them thrive in that situation to help us get into that manufacturing. We still have those same employees that, when we held up that first gallon of flavor that we made, we celebrated it to the highest extent. And so once we got that rolling, it was very rewarding, but came with its own challenges because two, after about 6 months, we realized, uh-oh, we're not big enough. So we were kind of bursting out of the seams for about a year because our sales were growing, our production was growing, but our facility wasn't wasn't able to handle that. So we explored a second building and second manufacturing. But as you know, construction takes a long time, planning takes a long time. So we had about a year or so where my production manager, every day I had to go to him and just be like, bear with us, please. I know it's really hard now, but we just got to get through this. And he did, and very thankful for him. And that year was very stressful, knowing we were making a transition into that. And so once we got into the new building, it was like, okay, we can take a breath. Um, and that's lasted for about 3 years. And now we're looking into a new building to as that growth keeps going. Um, we build for the future, but when you are successful at that can go into hyperspace as far as the speed of that success can go. So that was probably the biggest challenge that we've had. I'm sorry. getting through that really made us even more of a tight team. And I think the team saw how Matt and I handled it and, saw that we were planning for that kind of behind the scenes. So we weren't being reactionary to it. Like we knew that was going to happen. We just didn't realize it was going to happen so quickly. So I think that once our team saw that we were calm about it, in front of them, they were happy to jump on board and they're excited for the growth and I think that gave them the vision of how to look forward and what challenges could be ahead. So we're really good at being in front of that, being proactive, from every single department, from procurement to our R&D to our marketing. Everybody is pretty much looking forward at all times. So that would probably be the biggest challenge that we had. Um, and that's the one when we look back on this whole thing, we'll say, man, that was some stressful, sweaty palms time that we had.
One thing that I like that you said, and this is I share the strength, is, calm amid chaos. Because internally, you and Matt were having, and with others, those tough conversations to keep a team together during stressful times, but showing your leadership in terms of calm is a strength, and appreciate, not the firefighting mode that some people go into. I would love to go more into that, but before we kind of bring this to a close, I do have to ask you, you have all kinds of sports memorabilia behind you. Just tell me a little bit more about your collection. Like, what are you into? What are you proud of? Because for those of you that watch us on the YouTube, you can see you are an avid sports fan.
Yeah, so if you look back, you'll see I have a lot of St. Louis Cardinals memorabilia. Being from St. Louis, you are born into the religion of St. Louis Cardinal baseball. So my family and myself, we live and breathe St. Louis Cardinals baseball, but also my family, they're up from Buffalo, New York. And so you'll see a lot of Buffalo Bills gear back there as well. I don't know when this podcast will post, but hopefully it will be at a time when the Buffalo Bills win their first Super Bowl. Um, my kids are all in on the Buffalo Bills, and they probably the biggest Buffalo Bills fans in St. Louis. They wear gear to school every day, so and this is kind of the Kansas City Chiefs country. So they have their own battles at school every day, but they're very proud, and we will look to celebrate that here in 2025.
Okay, I am there with you. What a wonderful story. But Paul, I we could go on and on. I sincerely appreciate you sharing your stories, strengthen your leadership, shining a light on your team. But I'd love to bring this to close and just give you any last thoughts or ways that people can contact you.
Sure. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for having us on, and for the kind words that you've given Matt and I. Um, and just want to say, risk and reward is a real thing when it comes to putting it all out there. Matt and I have set a lot out, with not a ton of experience in the industry that we were in when we started. But we knew that selecting the right people and people that did know and had that experience um, really has helped us go along the way, and helped us grow. I am excited to learn from these folks every day. It is a family business, but it is a family on that side. So we say to our employees every day, family first. If you have to leave because somebody has a doctor's appointment or you have to take a day off because daycare fell through for that day, go ahead and do that. That's the priority. We're in a fun business of making flavors, but if you have to miss a couple hours because of something more important, go do that, and the world will keep rotating. So that's how we see it. We have no change to that. The culture is so important to us that that's what keeps pushing us forward, and we look forward to continuing that as long as we're here.
So, Paul, I do want to say thank you for dropping in on the show. I am inspired by your stories, and this isn't the end, but I just want to wish you and the Beck family continued success and you be well. Thank you so much for being a great guest.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care.